Hey guys, so I know most of you know I was supposed to take pregnancy tests yesterday. I did. So what happened was I was gonna test really early, and then I found out my husband had to go into work really early. So I don't really like to test with him there. I feel very nervous when doing that sort of thing. So I knew I was going to either test really early or after he went to work. Well, finding out that he had to go into work really early, I knew that I would be testing after. So instead of testing at 4:30 or 5 in the morning, I did test. I got up at 7 to pee. I peed in the cup. And then the girls weren't awake, the dog wasn't awake, and I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to lay back down, get a little bit more sleep because I'm exhausted. So that's what I did, and usually the girls, wake up at 7:30, and 7:30 rolls around and nobody's making a sound. 7:45 comes around, nobody's making a sound. It's like, okay. The one day they sleep in is the one day that I actually kind of need to get up and out and moving. So that was kind of annoying, but whatever. So sorry, I'm trying to get the light so it's not awful. So I took the pregnancy test, the big one, this one, at about 8:30, somewhere in there. I got them up, got them dressed, got them breakfast, and then took my test here so that I could record it for you guys. And then right after taking the test, we just ran out the door so that I could go get my blood work. I did have some footage, but my Windows Movie Maker is just not working for whatever reason right now, so I will upload that file when I can. But basically it was negative. So it had the 5 windows, the fancy schmancy 5 test thing with all the different, there we go, all the different, what's it called, values, but it looked like this the second window right here. So all the control lines were up, but no test line. So after the negative, I went over to my clinic. I dropped the kids off at Kids Park because I just didn't want to take them to another blood draw. Took them to the Kids Park, went up and went to go take my blood draw test. Well, nobody had told me that the lab was going to be only open for half an hour. It was open from 8 to 8:30 in the morning. And at the time, when I got there, I was so annoyed that I was like, what was even the point of them opening for a half hour, blah, blah, blah. Now, having thought about it, it doesn't, I mean, there were people that were getting the retrievals done that day, so they had to have some time where men could drop off their wow, I can't think of the specimens. So, at the time, I was super annoyed that they were only open for a half hour, but I get it now. So then I was annoyed. There was somebody who had walked up right behind me, and they saw that it was closed, and they're like, oh, well, now we have the whole day to just do anything, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm sitting there thinking, no, heck no. I'm not going to drive my booty all the way here just to be like, oh, they're not open, whatever. I'll just go home. So I went upstairs to the clinic, and I said, look, I'm supposed to take my beta today, and the lab's closed. And she goes, okay, you have to go to the main hospital across the street. So I went to go over there. I've never been inside the hospital. I've never parked to go inside the hospital except once, but it was a section of the hospital that's actually detached. So I've never actually been in the hospital. So I went around where she told me to, and it totally took me to like a loading dock. So I went out and went a different way, and it took me to the ER, and I was like, well, I'm just going to park here. And I got out of my car, and the officer goes, there's an officer who walked up, and he goes, do you have an emergency? And I was like, sort of, but probably not by your standards. And he goes, yeah, if you park there, I'm going to give you a ticket, and it's like $250. Great. So I left there, finally found the main entrance, valeted my car because it's free for an hour, and then I went inside. Now, like I said, I've never been inside the hospital, so I'm looking at the map, and I'm just like, I don't even know where I'm supposed to go. There's about 17 different labs, and I have no idea which one I'm supposed to go to. I have no idea where I even am because somebody took off the "You Are Here" sticker thing, so I was really annoyed. I walked around, I went to the closest lab, and it was not the right lab. I went to another lab, it was not the right lab. I got myself super lost. And finally, there was some people walking by me constantly. I mean, this place is super busy. And finally, I was like, I pulled this one guy aside, and I was like, I'm sorry, I know you're a surgeon because of the color of his scrubs, but I really need some help. Could you just tell me what lab I need to go to and how to get there to get my blood drawn? Or even just tell me which lab I need to go to so that I can figure it out on the map. And he goes, well, let me walk you there. I have a surgery about 5 minutes, but we can do it. It's like, no, you don't have to walk me. It's okay. And he goes, no, from here it's probably better if I just walk you over. It's like, all right, thanks. I must have looked pitiful because he offered to walk me over to the lab. It was ridiculous. The really odd thing is he was very much Derek Shepherd. Like, he had the kind of, I just woke up, but my hair looks awesome thing going on, and just a little bit of scruff going on, and he was like a neurosurgeon and all this other stuff. It was really kind of funky, and yeah, he was probably this hospital's version of McDreamy, because yeah, he was totally Derek Shepherd style. It was really weird, but whatever. So he walked me over to the lab. I went into the reception, thanked him, went into the reception area, sat down. She started taking my information, and then she goes, well, let me see how much this is going to cost since you're self-pay. And I was like, can you just put me in the queue so that I can get my blood drawn? And I promise I'll take care of it. Like, I'll come back to you, but I just really want to get my blood drawn, like, now, because by that time it was 10:30. And she goes, well, I have to get you in there. I have to kind of figure out how you're going to pay. I was like, fine. So 20-something minutes later, she finally gets me all checked in, and then within 5 minutes, I'm back getting my blood drawn. So it took until 11 o'clock to get my blood drawn. I was totally devastated by that point. After I had dropped off the girls to Kids Park and then started driving, it kind of hit me that the blood test is it. That's it. There is no other, well, maybe it's too early, or maybe whatever. That's the only, it's definitive. So on the way to my blood test, I had had a little mini breakdown. I had put on Frozen to sing to, and when Let It Go came up, I was like, okay. And then she starts really getting into it, and I just kind of broke down a little bit in the car. And then on the way back, I was listening to something else, and I saw a cop car behind me. No lights or anything, wasn't even going to pull me over, but for some reason I had this mental image of the cop pulling me over for some reason, and then I started crying, and I was like, how awful would it be to be sitting there like crying in front of a cop and be, that whole scenario played out in my mind. It was awful. So I went and got the girls from Kids Park, went home, was expecting a phone call, didn't get a phone call yesterday, didn't get a phone call today. So at about 1, which I did not retest this morning, I just figured, I told my husband, and that's the worst part, you know, telling your husband that, again, it didn't work. So I had told him that it didn't work, and then I said, well, let me clarify that. Actually, it's not technically over. The pregnancy test that I took this morning was completely blaringly negative, and then I went and took the blood test, but the blood work isn't back yet. And I was wondering how effective this test is because it's still in study mode. So I took a couple of the lower level HCG ones from at home, like the Internet Cheapie and the Clear Blue Blue Dye Plus Minus test, and those were negative too. So that's how I put it to him, and I was just devastated. And he looked really sad, but you know, the girls were awake, so we went on with our night. And then today I didn't get a call, so around 1 I finally called him and I said, look, I'm coming up on when I would need to take my progesterone again, so I just kind of want to know, is it positive, negative, dinosaur, whatever. So she goes, well, it's nothing yet, let me call the lab. And I said, you know, just so you know, I am also spotting or having some light brown bleeding. I can't tell if it's just spotting or if it is like the start of AF. It started last night and it's nothing huge, but any progesterone that is coming out at this point is tinted brown, and I am having some brown, slightly pinkish brown when I wipe. And she said, okay, that can be fairly normal, so don't worry, let me call the lab. So they ran it for her really quick. Within half an hour she got the results. She called me back and she said, technically it's positive, but it's very low numbers. So my number is 7.1 and my progesterone is 4.1. So my numbers are really low, but it is technically positive. So tomorrow morning I would go in and get my blood redrawn. I am to stay on my progesterone and I'm to take it easy tonight. Unfortunately, I had figured all was lost. So tonight, last night, I was so frustrated and so over not having relations with my husband that I kind of went for it. And I quite agree with Lisa Lumdydum's viewing of it, that, you know, with the numbers being what they are, if it were to fail, that being with Jeremy last night is not going to be what made it fail. I also worked out today before I knew that it was positive, but low numbers. So, hey, don't play with that, please. So I am kind of apprehensive about that, but like I said, neither one of those things is going to be what ends it, if it does end. At this point, I'm just kind of waiting, and you know, the important thing is doubling, if it doubles within 48 to 72 hours. So at this point, I think we're just looking for a kind of rise, and so that's what I'm hoping for. I'm just trying to take it easy. I'm trying not to worry too much. I'm trying to stay positive, but it's kind of hard to stay positive when I spent a full day thinking that it didn't work. I'm trying to get back. Sorry, I'm totally like all over the place / mumbling, or not mumbling, stumbling upon my words today. I know. But since this is being recorded on YouTube, I cannot edit it. Anyway, like I said, all over the place. Getting back to being positive after thinking that it was over for a full day is really tough. Up until yesterday morning, I didn't really allow myself any negative thoughts. I didn't really allow myself any, maybe this didn't work. There was a couple that snuck in there, but realistically, I listened to my meditations and I thought my positive thoughts, and that was it. And then when I got the negative test yesterday, it was just like, at first it wasn't so bad, and then it kind of hit me, and then the other 2 tests were negative, and I was just like, nope, that's it, it's over. So going back to the hopeful aspect is a little bit tough, but I'm trying, and you know, I will really know more tomorrow, and they're going to put a rush on my test. So I will let you guys know as soon as I get those numbers, and I will keep you updated. Keep your fingers crossed and some positive thoughts from me. That would be really nice. And if you got through this whole video, kudos to you. I will talk to you guys later. Bye.